I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I just kind of think that my legacy and my reason for being here is to bring people together and inspire people and, just help people live out their dreams.
We're back here again, folks, for another engaging interview with none other than Brandon McComb, founder and manager of Nice Guy Entertainment. First, though, I'd like to tell you a story, and if you follow my Facebook page, you've already seen this. I became rather inspired by a man named Justin Wren, who is an MMA fighter with Bellator. Now, on its face, I know what you're thinking. Is this guy some sort of meathead inspired by an MMA fighter to start this program? But Justin is more than just an MMA fighter. He works with an organization called Water 4, who drills wells for the Pygmies in the Congo. The Pygmies are a rather primitive people who are often enslaved by the folks around them in the surrounding communities. Other than the challenges that they face from the communities surrounding them, one major problem that they have is getting clean drinking water, sometimes having to walk miles carrying 40-pound jugs of tainted water that can give them deadly parasites. If they are in a position to get food, and if they get sick from the water, they then can't absorb the nutrients because they're so sick. And they get dysentery, and the food just goes right through them, and they're not able to absorb anything. Now, at this point, I'm not affiliated with Water 4, but I intend to be at some point. And what sets them apart from other companies that go into these places and drill wells for the Pygmies is that they're drilling these wells as well as finding good placement for them when they do drill and giving the Pygmies the knowledge and experience to repair and maintain these on their own. Because sometimes what'll happen is they'll go in there, and even if the well is drilled in a correct place, they don't really give these people the know-how or experience to fix them. So anyway, I really like Water 4 and what they do. And Justin's story of suffering, I mean, I just had so much respect for the guy. The one which I had identified with the most was his stories about being bullied growing up, which you'll hear between me and my guests and even with Brandon here on the show today, that I can personally identify with Justin on that. I really didn't get along with my classmates growing up. I didn't feel welcomed by a lot of them. So I definitely understand the psychological suffering of being bullied. I was never, thrown into lockers or anything like that. I just wasn't invited to the party, as it were. But another episode of the Joe Rogan Experience came out yesterday with Justin, and I was inspired to do something. And here's what I've been thinking. To be able to generate ad revenue and get bigger guests on the show, I need to have larger download numbers. And I can't do that by myself. So I really need your help. And here's my goal. It's to have 1,000 regular listeners each week by this time next year. And I have no doubt that we can achieve that together. So if you like this show, and you can think of someone in your life who could benefit from an hour each week of introspection, beautiful music, and powerful people, please share this with your friends. Because we could generate ad revenue on this show and give it to places like Water 4 who are helping to make the world a better place for those who are suffering. And one important point that I'd like to bring up is in this most recent interview that Joe Rogan did with Justin Wren, he makes a distinction between just giving people a handout in these philanthropic organizations so that you can actually give them the tools that they need to better their lives in the future, not just to feed them now. And it's the old adage, of give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime, that sort of thing. So anyway, I really recommend checking out Justin Wren and his interviews on the Joe Rogan Experience so that you can see where I'm coming from and maybe yourself will get inspired by the same things. Without any further ado, I would like to welcome you, Brandon McComb, and as always, stick around to the very end so I can give you my goodbyes.
My name is Brandon McCollum. I also go by the rap name B McC.
Why don't you start off by telling me a little bit about your origin story? Where'd you grow up? Kind of what childhood was like? Things like that.
I'm originally from Santa Barbara, California, and my family moved here when I was 9, basically because the economy in California was just, it was awful. I mean, my dad was always out of work, and we came here just for basically a better life. I mean, better education, all that stuff, and moved here in third grade, and kind of, I was I was always into music and really obsessed with just audio in general. I would play with programs on the computer and stuff like that, and I never knew how to play any instruments or anything, but I would just mess around, and I was always obsessed with like reading the liner notes and CDs and stuff, and looking at the production credits and stuff like that, and all the behind the scenes stuff. So I always kind of knew I wanted to get into that, but my natural gravitation was just to rap, and so I started rapping. I would write. So I think it started as poetry at first, and then I would just write poetry, and then it turned into rapping and stuff like that. Just basically based out of not knowing how to play an instrument, or not knowing how to like officially create music. And so and I would videotape, me and my friends would videotape sketch comedy stuff. And so growing up we did a lot of that, and that kind of grew my obsession in music. And I was always a different kid or whatever. So childhood was spent mainly being picked on and alone in my room, just, messing around with stuff and tinkering around with, audio and music and all that stuff. So that's my childhood in a nutshell, I guess
Sure.
you could say.
Yeah, I can totally relate to not feeling like you're fitting in with your classmates and sort of finding comfort in music or poetry. I remember starting a notebook when I was in middle school and high school of a bunch of poetry. I've still got some of it just sitting around that I don't have the heart to get rid of,
Right.
But yeah, I can totally relate to how poetry was sort of the start of my artistic inclinations. So did you ever learn how to play guitar or anything like that, or?
No, I never did. I mean, my mom tells me that she asked me if I wanted to take piano lessons when I was 7, but I said no because I was just a lazy ass. So if I could go back in time, I would totally just shake myself and be like, dude, take those piano lessons. Because it was weird because I mean, I was so interested in music and stuff like that, but I think part of me was just too lazy to ever like pick up an instrument and learn. I think that's that in a nutshell. Or just like anything that I perceived as too hard or daunting of a task, if I did try it, I would kind of give up right away.
Sure.
But for whatever reason, I mean, I never stopped being artistic or, going in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So with producing, I suppose you have to play a little bit on a keyboard. So, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with, some basic stuff to make beats, right? I mean, I can't really describe it, but, playing a little
key signatures and chords and stuff
sure.
like that.
Just
definitely.
playing a little arpeggio for a beat or something like that.
Right.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, it takes me a long time to just come up with a simple melody or whatever, but I mean, yeah, I understand. I could find where all the notes are, how to make a chord and stuff like that. But I mean, other than that, it's all by ear what I end up creating.
Mm-hmm.
It's putting, I'll sample a lot of stuff like old records and make drum beats and stuff, and just like kind of mess around by ear. So that's a lot of what I do.
Right. Yeah, and I've listened to a little bit of your own raps. You talk about like your anxieties and things like that quite a bit. So does that sort of inform your artistic inclinations then? Just your drive from maybe, I don't want to make it sound too dramatic, but suffering as maybe a kid or
100%. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that's where it comes from, without a doubt. I mean, it was always, when I was a kid, it was basically like I was bullied, and therefore I was depressed, and so I didn't want to play sports. I didn't want to do this and that because I kind of became antisocial, and in that aspect I just dived into the arts and stuff like that. So I mean, a lot of it carried over, even into my 30s, and it's just one of those things where I just like to be by myself and writing, and a lot of it, like you said, it comes from a dramatic but a real honest place.
Sure. So, yeah, one thing I do notice too is in your productions, there's sort of this aesthetic that comes from like 90s esque
Oh yeah.
music. How old are you?
I'm 30. I'll be 32 in April.
Okay, so you're a little bit older than me, so you sort of caught that the 90s R&B and hip hop thing, which I totally can tell comes right through in your beats. And I think what song was it? One of them that you had sent me. I don't remember the name of it.
Was it Brainstorm?
Brainstorm, yeah. That totally captures exactly what I'm talking about, which, yeah, it almost brought me back. The sound of it and the vibe of it kind of brings me back to childhood in a way.
That's awesome. That was definitely my, I mean, I don't think it was, I don't think I intended it 100%, but I mean, I always, that's just what I gravitate towards. I mean, I grew up on West Coast hip hop. I mean, because I'm from California, so that always stuck with me. So I mean, like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, stuff like that. But then I got a little bit of the Biggie influences and stuff like that. So I mean, 90s, 100%. That's where a majority of the influence comes from when it comes to hip hop.
Cool. So, and when you were talking about getting bullied, was this back even in California, or was this your experience more when you moved here to Minnesota that this happened?
That's a good question. I talk about this quite a bit actually with people, but I mean, I was bullied in California, but it wasn't really until I came here that it just got bad. I mean, it's odd, but it was a huge culture shock for me to move here. I mean, you wouldn't think just moving, 2,000 miles or whatever, but it was a complete culture shock. I mean, I wasn't used to winters. People thought I dressed different. People thought that, I talked different. I was behind in school because Minnesota schools, believe it or not, I mean, at least in the early 90s, are way more advanced than, I mean, like, for example, in third grade, kids were already learning their division and multiplication and stuff like that, and we're pretty advanced in it. And we were just starting to scratch the surface when I moved to Minnesota from California. So sure. I was just automatically behind. I was just completely from day one just behind, and I never quite caught up. Ended up graduating late because of it, and just never quite fully grasped that. So it was still a huge.
We can just keep going. Yeah, I don't know how that feels at all, because I went to school at the same place my whole life, just a small town school. So I have no idea what it's like, other than just to hear the anecdotes of other people coming from a different school. But that is something I did notice, is when people are coming from another school district, they were certainly not on the same level of curriculum as we were. So I can't really empathize with that one from direct experience, but yeah, I know that's got to be challenging. And then the absurdity of children, they'll latch onto something so petty,
right?
And just pick on each other because there's nothing else for you to do as a kid. You're experimenting with your social standing. So there's almost like this predatory, psychologically predatory thing that kids do, where they just latch on to one kid and pick on him. That is something I do know about, because I didn't fit in with a lot of kids either myself.
It's kind of funny. I mean, looking back at it now, but just a funny anecdote. When we first moved here, my mom dressed me, and my brother's 3 years younger than me, so we were 5 and 8 when we moved here. My mom dressed us in like full snow gear the first winter here, like full, just straight up snow pants, like everything, just fully just decked out. And the kids on the bus used to call me and my brother Mr. and Mrs. Snow Pants. And it was just terrible because I mean we didn't know any better. We didn't know you weren't like, most of the kids were, you just wear a jacket or whatever and wear some gloves or whatever. We were just fully decked out, and it's funny looking back on it. But I mean, back then it was just traumatizing because we didn't know any better. But it's just hilarious.
Definitely. So turning back to music here, did you start making music in high school or middle school? I know. So you said you wrote poetry quite a bit, which sort of transitioned into rap, which for me, I can totally relate to that because like I was saying, I wrote poetry a little bit when I was starting to come of age, and I think rap did have a big part to play in that for me. I listened to Eminem quite a bit when that was like the cool thing when I was a kid. Yep. So that definitely informed my inclinations. So I'd imagine that you had a similar experience, right?
Yeah, for sure. When I was 13 or 14, because my family, I mean, we didn't move a lot, but we moved like once after we moved to from California. So, but I ended up switching schools quite a bit. So I started like when I went to the first high school that I went to, I started writing poetry, and then my friend who I had known since I think 95, so 5 or 6 years at that point. He was already playing piano and stuff like that. So when he moved to Maple Grove first, and then I moved to Maple Grove right after and switched to his high school that he went to. And then he started experimenting with rap a little bit, and he was always way better than me, but he just didn't stick with him. But he kind of got me into it, and he would kind of ghostwrite raps for me. He would take my poetry and like turn it into raps for me to do or whatever. And so that was my first start with that, was him literally translating my poetry for me into raps.
Okay.
And then, over time I learned how to do it myself and, turn my, poetry into rap and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Did people ever find your poetry or anything? Because I know for me, when I was a kid, it was something it was kind of like secretive almost, because it's such a vulnerable thing,
right?
To write poetry, which is sort of ironic because that's exactly what rap is. It's a delivery of poetry, and even though it's such a solitary act to write poetry, but it's almost traversed when you're rapping to blatantly come out and have confidence about that poetry.
Oh yeah.
So it's just this weird dichotomy that I noticed with writing poetry.
So was your question, did somebody find my notebook or something?
Yeah, I mean, did your parents ever come across your poetry, or classmates or anything like that?
It seems like they probably did, but I don't have a blatant memory of that at all. Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure. It seems like I do remember that happening once or twice.
I'm just curious because it was a big deal for me. It just makes
right.
a guy feel vulnerable.
Totally. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, pivoting back to the music, some of these songs you sent me, which I really dig what you guys got going on at Nice Guy, and really like your first album that you got on Spotify. But one of them you sent was Brainstorm, and we talked about this just a little bit ago about how it's got that 90s aesthetic. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that song and what it means to you?
That song is pretty much about what we were talking about, is getting those thoughts out, on paper. Brainstorm literally is just about a storm in your brain. It's about, writing and taking all your frustrations and turning it into something creative, and just having the need to get it out. That was a cool one to produce because I had the beat for a while, and I had the song and the hook, and I think I tried 2 or 3 singers on it, and we even performed it. I even performed it with a couple different singers, and nothing stuck. And then I went to see the band Seventh Ascent was what they were called. They're not around anymore, but the lead singer is one of my friends now. But I went to see them, and I just happened to be friends with her on MySpace or something. And then this girl that I knew had a crush on the guitarist or something. It was just a coincidence. So we ended up seeing them perform live, and I was like, holy crap, this chick can sing. And so I went up to her and I said, hi, I'm Brandon. We're friends on MySpace. I don't know if you remember me or anything, but I really dig your voice, and I think you would be perfect for this song. And she's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And, we brought her in and she just killed it. And then the second verse of that song was an interesting thing because I recorded with one of my best friends, Brian Mingy, and he completely hated what I had written for the second verse. He was like, nope, this is trash, write it again. And he's like, literally, these lines at the beginning are good, this line at the end is good, the rest rewrite. And I'm like, okay. And I was just happened to be going to Jamaica that following week. So I did a little bit of illegal substance, and I drank a little bit of liquor and sat down on the deck overlooking the ocean and wrote that second verse, and it just came out perfect, and it's one of my favorite verses that I've ever written. Nice. And so that song definitely, that album as a whole, I'm proud of because of the weird process that I kind of went through with writing that whole thing. So it definitely came from a very creative and organic place, for sure.
The pen hits the paper once again. Smoke vapor seep out of my skin and blow into the night's wind. I begin this binge of jotting all these sins, some of which I didn't commit myself. Writing is the only way that helps heal all the bruises and the oversized welts left by the hell that instantly melts. Once it hits the brain, right away it's felt. Of course, I speak in metaphors for this brainstorm. Everyday occurrence, you could say it's the norm. Many deep topics are ripped and torn from my head to the pen, then a song is born. Worn out and broken, the brain is ripped open. Out pours a river of endless emotion. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane, but I wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. There's always some that blows. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane. There's always smiles that blow. But I wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. There's always sun that blows. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane. There's always smiles that blow. But I wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. Your mind is a vortex, intricate, complex. I spin around and become such a mess when they're swirling and twirling, and you wish you had Merlin's magic wand just to make them all be gone. But you don't, so you won't try to make them disappear. Wrote a few quotes, made them all crystal clear, and vivid now they're living so super sick with a kick and a snare, a few hats here and there. A real dope sample for you to just trample. Add a few cents to make the sound so ample and juicy. You think big, you would be proud. You work your sound in ways that have never been found, and try to stay focused to get rid of locusts buzzing in the head, causing negative emotion. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane, but you wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. There's always sun that blows. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane. There's always smiles that blow. But I wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. There's always sun that blows. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane. There's always smiles that blow. But I wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. When I'm sitting with a group of friends in the midst of deep thought, they all wanna know why the hell I don't talk. I tell them I don't know, even though my face shows that I'm thinking something deep. Okay, here it goes. I'm chillin' like a villain, filling my mind up with all kinds of nonsense I can find. I wanna rewind time so I can be a kid again. I wanna go back, kinda wanna re-begin. Start life over, at least be a little less older, and act more bolder and colder, and hope that everything will be alright. Cause all my life I've been a little too nice with the way I'm feeling when dealing with emotion. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane, but I wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. There's always sun that blows. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane. There's always smiles that blow. But I wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. There's always sun that blows. Commotion of the brain makes a man insane. There's always smiles that blow. But I wouldn't change a thing to stop all the rain. I constantly have these things run through my brain, but I wouldn't change a thing cause it makes for beautiful music. Wouldn't change a thing.
it's good to have a friend or something just to be able to push you that one step further that you need to go as well. You were saying that's one of the, your favorites that you've ever written and produced.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right to
thank you. Yeah,
to be confident about that.
At this point, I mean, I put out the album in 2009, but that song, I think I was performing a version of it back in 2007, so it's about 10 years old.
Okay.
In the earliest stages of it, yeah.
Sure. Nice. So, and then another one that you had sent me, it was a joint effort between you and 2JD, who is another guest on this show. So this is one of your favorite beats that you've ever created, you were saying, right?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite beats and one of my most vulnerable verses that I've ever done. Mm-hmm. That beat is very old. I probably made that back in maybe somewhere between 2007 and 9 probably. And it had been sitting around forever, and all these different rappers tried to rap over it, and they just either didn't finish the project or moved on or whatever, but it was just sitting there for a long time. And I met Jared at a group home we were both working at, and he showed me his music and I was blown away. And then I showed him a bunch of Mr. Nice Guy stuff because that was the only thing I had put out at the time. And he's like, man, I dig your 90s vibe. This is awesome. Do you have any more of these style beats? And I'm like, dude, I have tons. It's kind of my style. And he heard a handful or whatever, and he picked 3 or 4 for his album, and that was one of them. And he wrote this really cool song to it, and he's like, I can't remember the exact conversation, but he said, since it's one of your favorite beats you've ever made and you gave it to me, I think it would only be appropriate if you did a verse. And I'm like, yeah, definitely. And that verse just kind of came out because I had just started school maybe like a year prior, started college, and I was having a lot of issues with anxiety at the time, and just kind of where I fit in with the music stuff. And because I go to school at a school called IPR for recording and stuff like that, and I was just starting Nice Guy Entertainment, and all these things were happening, and I was just going through a lot of anxiety, and I just kind of let everything go on that track. And yeah, it just came from a really vulnerable, honest place, and I'm really pleased with the way it came out, for sure.
But it feels like raindrops precipitate the past, like it's gonna make the pain stop. Brain throbs when my heart's done swelling. It's shriveled up and caved, that's where the future fell in. There's no telling cause my mouth's on padlock. If I could scream it would level out the whole block, and everyone would have enough of the nonsense. With everything I have it doesn't make any sense. Then again I'm senseless. This logical man is quite ill in the head. It's a logical man. It hits me when I least expect. Kind-hearted, but I wish I could forget that the high road is the one worth walking. I'd rather be getting down like nails in a coffin, smoking and coughing, drinking and boozing, saying fuck love cause it's just too confusing. So am I a good man? Am I a good man? I'll keep flipping the script till I know I am, until I know, yeah. Am I a good man? Am I a good man? I'll keep flipping the script till I know I am, until I know. I'm a self-proclaimed nice guy, but why lie? I try to be a people person, but it only makes it worse when I realize that I'm not. Then I'm labeled as a snot when I don't smoke your pot and I don't wanna talk. Can't relax, I get panic attacks on a daily basis. I'm faced with not complacent stages. All the situations that I find myself placed in, heart palpitations, contemplating racing to the door, cause I can't ignore all the feelings that I stored down inside. All these times I tried to hide the side, introvert in the extrovert jerk world. Can't even flirt with a short skirt girl. All these years, think my fears would have been erased. Would have found my place, bunch anxieties face. Now I ponder if I'm on to living as a good man. If I ought to change a lot, yeah, that's a good plan. So am I a good man? Am I a good man? I'll keep flipping the script till I know I am. Until I know, yeah. Am I a good man? Am I a good man? I'll keep flipping the script till I know I am. Until I know. If I could have all the money, sex and drugs, would I really say nah, man, all I need is love? I say fuck egos, but I've never had one. They've got the greener grass, and I admit I'd like to smoke some. Everybody says that I'm a good man, but what if that's just circumstance? I'll take the chance and do what feels right, and shoot for the stars as I burn through the twilight. Am I a good man? Am I a good man? I'll keep flipping the script till I know I am. Until I know, yeah. Am I a good man? Am I a good man? I'll keep flipping the script till I know I am. Until I know.
I feel like the context of that song is something that pretty much all of us can relate to. If you're honest with yourself, you've probably had at least one point in your life where you wonder, well, am I really doing the right thing? Am I honest to myself? Am I honest to the people around me?
Right.
And yeah, I think that's a perfectly appropriate place to become vulnerable, is in in the context that song was.
Exactly. Thank
Definitely. You. Yeah. And then another one. I'm not as familiar with this guy, but it's a track from his record, Benjamin K.
Benjamin K. Yep.
Yeah. Jamtastic.
Yes.
Which, yeah, that was a really light and bubbly song.
Yeah, definitely. That one I chose because it's the most recent thing that I've done. I think I just finished mixing and mastering it a week and a half ago, and we released it like a day later or 2 days later. So I mean, it's brand new. And it was Ben is a dude that grew up with Jared and his brother. And they've known each other since they were kids. And Ben is in all of his corniness and bubbliness, he is one of the most brilliant dudes I think I've ever met. I mean, he's got such an ear for production. He is a wonder when it comes to the keys and just making beats and stuff like that. And he had never put out a fully produced, polished thing, and I had never fully recorded and mixed anybody's album before. I had done one-off tracks here and there, little singles and stuff like that, but I had never, professionally done that. So last June we sat down and, discussed our terms and, what we were looking to get out of it and stuff like that. And then we just got to work, and I recorded and mixed and executive produced it. And then I booked the release party, which was last week. And, and so that song turned out really, really well, and that project turned out really well, and really means a lot to me from that standpoint that, it's a first of mine.
I'm feeling jamtastic, got rappers in elastic, style on spastic. Yeah, I'm a fanatic, I'll put you in a ziplock, save your ass for later, just to let you out and end you like I'm Darth Vader. Yo, try to get on my level, man, I'm kicking up pebbles, about to blow the lid out like I'm a tea kettle. My track's heavy like a kilo, I granny when I free throw, I wake my crowd up when they're in limbo like DiCaprio. I'm like a hard buzz, watch my bar spin, or burn your shit up, Benjamin's into arson. This dude's a Martian, show me what you got, sir, my squad comes through, you're like, oh, real monsters. 90s, I'm back on it, I own it, don't flaunt it. You don't need to say you got swag to have it, doggone it. I like to keep it nice and exotic. Now bring my beat back, cause that shit is my tonic. Drop it. I'm a fanatic when the beat's dramatic. I can't help but feel a little bit jamtastic, jamtastic, jamtastic. Yeah, I'm jamtastic. I'm a fanatic when the beat's dramatic. I can't help but feel a little
Fantastic, jam-tastic, jam-tastic, yeah, I'm jam-tastic.
I got nothing left, I used to have breath. Now I need a break before I drop the next load of spit on you selfish hypocrites. My style's a Ferrari, you can't even get your permit. Wit, you don't got it. Ben's about to go, but I know that he flows round and round, but to make another loop, and you better take cover, cause he's about to let loose. Duck, goose, I'm Zeus, standing tall, high down there. You need a little boost. Shoot, I take the cake, steal the loot. Minnesota winters with shorts and no boots to boot. When I got these rhymes on tap, man, I'm kind of a surprise. Yeah, bust out the gift rap.
Gift rap.
I'm back on it, I own it, don't flaunt it. You don't need to say you got swag to have it, doggone it. Nothing gets me higher than a new project. Now bring my beat back, cause that shit is my tonic. Drop it. I'm a fanatic when the beat's dramatic. I can't help but feel a little bit jamtastic, 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 yeah, I'm jamtastic. I'm a fanatic when the beat's dramatic. I can't help but feel a little bit
jamtastic, 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 jamtastic.
So you produced the whole album?
Well, yeah, I didn't make the beats or anything, but I oversaw it and executive
Sure.
produced it and stuff like that. Ben made all the beats though.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
So
You guys got a lot of talent under Nice Guy.
I appreciate it. Yeah, man. I mean, we've just been working hard, man. We've been just networking and finding other people, like-minded people, and getting them involved, and just pushing each other's talents and stuff like that, and booking shows and working with all these guys has just been awesome.
Sure. So one topic I always like to bring up in these interviews is mortality, which sort of ties into a lot of things. There's so much that drives us that has to do with our fear of nothing and our propensity to build a legacy. So in what ways have you conceptualized your mortality? Any sort of theology or anything like that?
Do we have all day?
Hey, yeah, I mean we've got plenty of time.
Jeez, I mean, I that's such a loaded question though. I mean, it's a topic I think I constantly think about. I mean, I constantly think about why am I here? Am I here to because I mean, really the only thing that I've ever wanted to do, and I think that I'm good at, is bringing people together and creating music and stuff like that. So I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and I just kind of think that my legacy and my reason for being here is to bring people together and inspire people, and just help people live out their dreams. And I mean, does that kind of go along with what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a spiritual thing or what it is, but I've definitely been realizing that that's my purpose, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I get no greater joy in life than to see other people's visions come to life, and have it tie into what I'm doing, and my vision and stuff like that. And just hearing people say that, I've helped them or inspired them or, anything like that it's better than any sort of money or, possessions or anything like that. I mean,
right.
I could never make a dime in my life. And just knowing that I inspire people and help them do what they want to do and give them the courage to do what they want to do and to be as honest and vulnerable as possible and to feel comfortable with that, to feel
Sure.
I mean, especially with, guys like 2JD and, artists that I've worked with, just helping them feel more confident and comfortable and, getting their ideas out and getting their music out there. And, that is another thing is seeing talent in people and seeing, something that they don't necessarily see in themselves. That's something that I've always been passionate about and feel like is another reason that I'm here. Just finding that little thing inside that, like, I think you'd be really good at this if you tried this, or, and then being correct about that and then seeing the results is, it's amazing. Just, helping people find those things
Sure.
within themselves.
Yeah. And that's sort of part of the reason why I'm doing this project in a way too, is to sort of celebrate, just our basic humanity, in that what sets people apart from the rest of, the animal kingdom is that we do create things to transcend our limitations, and I think music is probably the expression of that, sort of takes that aspect of humanity and puts it into a place where we can observe it,
Right.
So yeah. Is there any sort of theology attached to your worldview on mortality? Were you raised religious at all?
No, I mean, that's an interesting story too. When hopefully my grandma doesn't hear this, but when I was young, we went to the church that my dad was raised in, and the preacher ended up saying some just ridiculous things, just off the wall things. Like, I think one of the things my mom told me he said was, everybody that drinks and smokes should be let out to die. And so eventually, after like a couple of these experiences, my mom grabbed me and my brother, and we like never went back. And so after that, I mean, I think my mom's view kind of changed, and I was like probably 7 or 8 at the time. So after that we didn't go to church. I didn't grow up religious at all, and so I consider myself very agnostic. I'm spiritual, but definitely not atheist by any means. Like, I cannot grasp an atheist view. Like, it just doesn't comprehend. But yet, on the same token, I can't fully grasp somebody that 100%, like, without a doubt believes in like a Bible and like stuff like that, and like written text, thinking that's like 100% true. So I'm very right in the middle. Like, I'm very accepting of other people's views, and I try to never down talk anybody's views, because I understand atheist views. I understand, the religious side of things. Like, I try to like get myself in other people's heads and just maybe understand why they, believe what they believe, and, kind of relate it to mine. But I guess my religious journey is still developing. Like, I don't know,
Sure.
I'm just, I definitely believe in a higher power. I totally can't, get down within any like atheism like in my head, because of just dreams and experiences I've had. Like, I don't fully believe that there is no God, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's hard not to be mystified by your experience, because
Right.
It's pretty hard not to try to explain the fact that we're here without some sort of grand plan or some sort of divine reasoning to it. So,
Right.
And it sounds like you're just sort of adverse to any kind of fundamentalism,
Yeah,
just in
exactly.
general.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there is a sort of fundamentalism to the hardcore atheist.
Right.
I mean, if you think about the how mystical the Big Bang sounds. You know, there was nothing and then there was everything.
Right.
You know, that's borderline theological.
Exactly.
No matter how well a physicist can explain it.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
is a leap of faith that you have to take.
Right.
There, right. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a really interesting take.
And I just think that there's so much information out there. It's like how can you be 100% certain about one of those things? I mean, I guess it's all stuff that we've personally experienced, and you know, stuff that we've felt, and stuff that we've, you know, I mean, I've had dreams that I can't explain. If I did try to explain them, I would just sound fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So I think that's what keeps me from being an atheist. I mean, is just like my own personal thoughts and experiences and stuff like that I just can't explain.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just like, well, if that is just my brain telling me that, then I'm fucking crazy, you know, because like that is, you know, gnarly, some of the things that I've, you know, dreamt and experienced. So
would you mind sharing one of those dreams?
I've seen weird demonic things in my dreams, and like just the weird voices that, like, you know, say just super messed up things, and then it's really hard to explain and hard to fully describe in actual words, because I mean, a lot of it had nothing to do with words. It was just all like imagery and feeling and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, and I probably sound psychotic, but I mean, those are some of the things that have kept me like just wondering, you know, like
Sure.
what was that, you know,
Yeah.
like why did I have that dream? Why did it feel so realistic? Why do I still feel this way when I think about it? You know, stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, so that part of me, I think, really keeps me believing that, like, okay, maybe there is, but it also keeps me scared at the same time because of like I said, like the really messed up things that I've dreamt about. So religion is also a very scary thing for me. It's like,
Sure.
It's unknown, you know, and I wish that I could just like be one of those people where if I believe in Jesus, like everything will be okay. If I pray, you know, I'll be saved and everything like that. But it's hard for me to gravitate towards any one set, you know, mind state or belief and stuff. So I just kind of keep my ears open and stay searching and, you know, stay thinking all the time and stuff like that. So
No, I like it. I think even if someone is devoted to any kind of faith or anything like that, I have a lot of respect for people that are open to hear other ideas at the very least. You know what I mean? So
well, and I have nothing but respect for Christians and, you know, Muslims and Jewish people, and that use their faith in very good ways, you know, are very devout to their beliefs and treat other people with respect because their, you know, religion, you know, preaches that, you know. But it's when people use their religious beliefs to put down others or to limit the rights of others, and anything negative attached to it, that's when I'm just like, you lost me. Like,
yeah,
I can't get down with any of that.
Yep. Yeah, and almost every theology's done that. Even Buddhism, they've ghettoized Christians in Tibet. I'm not sure if you or anybody else listening is familiar with that, but there's a lot of history with subversion of different faiths in even Buddhist places. So I mean, that's the most peaceful religion that, you know, that's like a go-to peaceful religion that we have to think of.
Exactly.
But even historically, they've, you know, used their faith in ways that subverts other people. So,
right. And yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's just if anything negative is attached to it, then that's when it just loses me, and I'm not. And that's, I think, what keeps me, you know, agnostic, is just that negative aspect to, you know, to those things. And
right. All right, so I think we should wrap up here. Does Nice Guy Entertainment have anything in the pipeline coming up here?
Oh, we have tons of stuff. We have, I have tentative shows that I'm working on, but we're back at Poorhouse again on March 10th. And then we have something at Honey, March 22nd, which is Legacy Key's birthday party. So that should be a good time. It's a mix of EDM and hip hop that night. So it'll be more upbeat, more fun, dancey vibe, stuff like that. And then we're working on stuff for April and May as well, too.
All right, thanks guys for listening all the way till the very end. Remember my goal that I'm trying to get 1,000 regular listeners per week on this show in order to grow so that we can do beautiful things together. So if you could smash that subscribe button and share this with your friends. All right, until next week, I'm signing off. Thanks. Bye.